"Do whatever you want, cowboy," said the Apache woman tied to the rancher's fence, but the tremble in her voice told a different story, and that was the moment everything changed. From the very first second he saw her, dust in her hair, wrists chafed against the rope, defiance burning in her dark eyes, Calder Briggs knew he was standing at the edge of a choice that could break him, or save him. Hook. Use this at the beginning of the video. He thought she was his enemy. He thought she was dangerous. But when she whispered those words, "Do whatever you want, cowboy," Calder realized he wasn't staring at a threat, he was staring at a wounded soul who'd been running from something far worse than him. And what he chose to do next would tie their fates together forever. Calder Briggs had been riding since dawn, sweat carving lines through the dust on his skin, when he saw her, struggling against the rancher's fence like a wounded hawk pretending not to be broken. Her dress was torn, her braids loose, and her wrists were tied tight enough to draw thin lines of blood. He'd been told Apache people were ruthless, that they stole cattle and burned barns. He'd been told never to trust a single one of them. But the girl tied to the fence didn't look like a raider. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. He rode closer. That's when she lifted her head, eyes sharp as an obsidian blade. "Do whatever you want, cowboy," she said, voice steady even though her breath trembled. "Just get it over with." Those words punched the air out of him. He dismounted slowly, like approaching a wild horse ready to kick. "What's your name?" he asked. She stared at him like she was deciding whether he was worth the truth. "Nazcha." He'd heard the name before, Owl, in the Apache language. "A watcher." "A warning." "Who tied you here?" he asked, her lips pressed tight. She was protecting someone. Or hiding something. Didn't matter. No one deserved to be left out under the burning afternoon sun like livestock. He reached for the rope. She flinched, then forced her chin up as if daring him to hurt her. "I'm not going to harm you," he said. "Everyone says that." The rope fell away. Nazca's hands dropped weakly to her sides. She tried to stand straight, but her knees buckled. Calder caught her before she hit the dirt. "Careful," he murmured. She shoved weakly against his chest. "I don't need your help." "Yeah," he said softly, "you do." Her eyes glistened for a split second before she blinked the weakness away. Calder carried her to the shade beneath a mesquite tree where the air was cooler. Dust streaked her cheeks, but her dignity stayed untouched. Something inside him tightened, an instinct he didn't understand yet. "Why were you tied up?" he asked again. Nazca looked toward the horizon, jaw trembling. "I ran from someone," she whispered. "Someone who thinks he owns me." Calder felt something dark coil in his stomach. "Who?" Nazca's eyes filled with a fear she tried to hide. "The rancher you work for." Calder froze. "You're lying." Her eyes hardened. "I don't lie. Not to survive." Wind swept across the plains, scattering silence between them. Calder thought of his boss, Henry Malone. A man with a quick smile and a quicker temper. A man who gave orders like a god and punished like a judge. "What did he do to you?" Calder asked. Nazca shook her head. "You don't want to know. You'll hate me for it." He leaned closer. "Try me." Her lips trembled. She breathed in slow, steady breaths, like someone trying not to drown in their past. "I saw something I shouldn't have," she whispered. "Something he did. And if Malone finds me again," her voice cracked, "he won't leave me tied next time." The ground seemed to shift beneath Calder's boots. That he should walk away. He should hand her back. It was the safe thing. The sensible thing. Instead, without thinking, he said, "Then he's not finding you." Nazca blinked, stunned. "Why?" she asked. Calder didn't know how to explain the storm inside him, how he couldn't stand the fear in her voice, how something about her felt like truth in a world of lies. "Because I ain't letting fear win," he said. "Not anymore." For the first time, the steel in Nazca's eyes softened, but the peace didn't last long. The sound of hooves thundered across the plains. Malone's men. Nazca stiffened, terror slicing through her bravery. Calder cursed under his breath. "Can you run?" he asked. She shook her head. "My legs, they won't hold yet." The riders were getting closer. Calder grabbed her hand. "Then hold on to me." He lifted her onto his horse, swung up behind her, and kicked into a sprint just as Malone's men crested the hill, shouting orders and firing into the sky. Calder wrapped his arms around Nazca to steady her. Her heartbeat trembled against him, but her voice was fierce when she said, "You're going to regret this." He tightened his grip on the reins. "Already do," he muttered, "but I'm still doing it." Behind them, the ranchers' shouts rose like a storm. Ahead of them, the desert stretched wild and unknown, and between them, something fragile and dangerous had begun to spark. Night swallowed the plains by the time Calder slowed his horse. Nazca was barely awake, leaning against him with exhaustion heavy in her limbs. They reached the shelter of a rocky overhang, a place hidden by sagebrush and shadows. Calder helped her down gently. She tried to stand, but her legs buckled again. He caught her, easing her to the ground as though she were made of something breakable. "You don't have to be so careful," she murmured, embarrassed. "Yes," he said quietly, "I do." She looked away quickly, as if that kind of gentleness stung worse than cruelty. Calder started a small fire. Nazca watched him while rubbing her swollen wrists, her expression unreadable. "You could walk out now," she said suddenly. "Leave me. Pretend you never saw me. Is that what you want?" "No," she whispered, surprising herself. "But it's safer for you." Calder tossed a twig into the fire. "Don't care." "You should." He shook his head. "I've lived my whole life doing what I should. Look where that's gotten me." She stared at him, then softened just a breath. "You're a strange cowboy," she said. "That's fair." Silence settled between them, quiet, warm, and strangely comfortable. She finally said, "You don't know what you're up against." "Then tell me." She hesitated, then exhaled a shuddering breath. "Malone killed an Apache boy. My cousin. He blamed it on a raid that never happened. When I found out, he locked me away. Said no one would believe an Apache woman over a white rancher." Calder felt fire crawl up his throat. "Why tie you to a fence?" Her eyes glossed with tears she refused to shed. "I tried to escape." He wanted the others to see what happens to those who disobey. Calder closed his eyes. Fury burned through him like wildfire. "I'm sorry," he said, voice rough. She blinked in surprise. "Most cowboys don't apologize to Apache women." "I ain't most cowboys." The fire popped. Nazca shifted closer, drawn unconsciously to the warmth. Her voice was small when she said, "Why are you helping me?" Calder stared into the flames. "Because someone's gotta do what's right. And seems like it's my turn." Slowly, cautiously, Nazca rested her head on his shoulder. He froze, then let the weight of her trust settle over him. For the first time in years, she felt safe. For the first time in years, he felt needed. But dawn arrived with a warning. Hoofprints circled in the dirt outside their hiding place, fresh, close, and leading right toward them. Malone's men were near. Too near. Calder felt Nazca tense beside him. "We can still run," she whispered. "No," he said, jaw set. "Not anymore." Her eyes widened. "Calder, I'm done hiding. Done being afraid of him." He stood, gripping the rifle in his hand, determination burning through him. "You said he thinks he owns you," he said. "He's about to learn he owns nothing." Nazca stood too, despite the pain in her legs, fire in her gaze matching his. "You'll get yourself killed." He looked at her, really looked at her. "For you," he said softly, "I'd risk it." In that moment, she realized something terrifying and beautiful. She wasn't running alone anymore. Their hands brushed. Neither pulled away. Together, they stepped out of the shadows. Together, they walked toward their fate, and somewhere deep inside the desert wind, a new beginning stirred, born from courage, forged by sacrifice, strengthened by two hearts that refused to break.